Call the council budget workshop to order for Monday, September 22nd, 2025. We've got 3 items for budget discussion tonight: library, airport, and then CIP discussion. We will start with the library budget.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. If everybody should have paper copies of the library budget worksheet. Again, these two are fairly short budgets. We'll run through them, give explanations on some of the revenues and maybe some discrepancies in some expenditures, and obviously any questions that you may have. And revenues on the top portion for taxes on the very top. You'll note that as some departments don't have revenue, a steady stream of revenues coming in order for us to fund each of those respective departments, we take levy funds and place them in as a tax revenue to pay for each of those respective departments. So that is what you will see, the $324,854. The other notable part on revenues is intergovernmental revenues. The last 4 is 3422, state grants or other. You'll notice that there was 75,000 budgeted for the 2025 year as a revenue. Actually, that never came to fruition. What that was, it was anticipated or thought there may have been some grant opportunities in 2025 to help pay for some signage and other things at the library. We were unable to secure, or there were no grants available, so that is actual, not revenue that we're having coming in. It'll just kind of cancel itself out as we talk further through the budget. So that is revenues for the library.
So is that something we should be sure about in the future? I mean, I don't know if that was
We've had some discussion about that. Sometimes it's difficult, like, using past information that grants may have been available in prior years, anticipating that hopefully they would be available in the upcoming year. Sometimes those grant opportunities don't become available till into the, or the following year. So sometimes they're just anticipated and that's where that revenue is put in there. But as you'll see, we put it as a revenue, as an expense, so it canceled itself out, Delane. It never was budgeted, or we never received those funds.
Okay.
And I'll show you that as we get through expenses here.
Okay.
Can I just add to that
Sure, absolutely.
quickly, Darren? If I may, I'm not sure, I think that there was some miscommunication about that. And I think that really the miscommunication was really on Jeff's part. I had made it pretty clear that we were gonna pursue the signage, potentially, or one of the grants up to $5,000 from Cheetah. Somehow, he understood me to say that there were also some grants available through the Minnesota Department of Education that could have potentially gone for things like, at the time, we thought maybe the existing part of the roof, the shingling, the remainder of the roof that hadn't been fixed a few years ago when we did the peak and the leaks. But in reality, when those funds became available about a year ago this November, would have been last November of '24, we found out that it had to be for a new project, like a new addition or something to that effect. So we didn't qualify for those. But yet he thought we were getting $75,000 from Cheetah. And that just was never the case.
You guys did receive funds, just not
We did receive,
75.
correct. We received the $5,000 grant. And at the time, our hope was to maybe put it towards signage, but then we found out that we would have to also complete the work before we got the actual funds. And the other part of that was that we were really needing to repair the existing brick fascia on the corner of Ash and Robert Street. And that if we went another winter or two without repairing it, that we probably would be replacing it, and it would be much more expensive to replace later after it had completely fallen down. So we did use the $5,000 to cover the cost of repairing and sealing that entire corner. And that's not just for aesthetic purposes, that's also for safety, because we have.
So where did that $5,000 in revenue come in on the line items at all?
And it hasn't even come in yet. We have to get it reimbursed from Cheetah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
it's
that's still coming.
It's coming 25 fiscal year?
It's still coming.
Okay.
And that was already okayed and it was granted, and so we just need to show the Palmer Masonry.
It's completed the project.
Yep, they've already done it, they've already been paid out of our building repairs and maintenance budget line item, and it'll go back in as revenue, I believe, but
It will come back in as revenue, correct? Then on salaries on the very top, 0101, we left that amount the same at 3,000. Those funds are used for when city maintenance staff helps out at the library, whether it's cleaning or other. You'll see 2 down, 0104, salaries temporary. We decreased those from 10,924 to 9,000. Just again, looking at prior trends, we felt we were a little over budgeted there. And again, that's used for part-time or temporary staff to help with maintenance and other mowing or other issues or
Cleaning,
at the library. Cleaning, there you go, that's what I was looking for,
Primarily
cleaning at the library, thank you. Then if you go down to 0211 laundry, the rest of those items are all going to be, again, salary-related benefits for any city staff that helps out there. Laundry we left the same. Next one, 0213 janitor supplies. We decreased that from 2,000 to 1,500, again, just looking at prior year trending and that we were potentially over budgeted a smidge there. Building repairs and maintenance, 0222, we did leave that at 12,000. Historically, that has been a good number for us. You will see in 2025 that we're currently at 28,084, and that is due for a couple of reasons. The reasons that Chris mentioned as far as the $5,000 masonry repair that we'd be reimbursed for. And then we also had a vandalism incident at the library where a fire was started in the men's bathroom. So there was some additional expenses for that.
I think the primary expense will be coming back refunded by the Minnesota League of Cities in terms of insurance
Yep.
payments.
I was just gonna ask that.
Yep, that
They'll
was the
cross
next
those
big-
out. The only expenditure that we've had over that, for the most part, has been that there was some mold uncovered in the wall between the bathroom and the restroom and the mechanical room. So we did have to repair that, and that obviously wouldn't be covered by those same funds.
If you were to remove the vandalism charge and that masonry charge, we'd be well within our budget at that point. 0303 contractual 4,500, we left that the same as last year. You know, that's used for pest control, pruning, tree spraying, weeds, carpet cleaning, commercial window cleaning, weekend snow removal, credit card annual fees, any associated fee like that. Skipping all the way down, let's see, utilities, 0380, we left the same. And then the last one, with any notable change, it'd be, I guess, 2 more I have here, is 0530, that'd be a capital improvement expenditure for 15,000. And the hope there was to install a digital sign at the library. I know they've been hoping to get signage for some time. That would actually cover about half the cost of the sign. The sign would probably cost double that or closer to 30,000. The rest would be paid through fundraisers or donors. And then you'll also notice in that line item for 2025 current, the 75,000. So that was in anticipation of that grant, as we discussed, we didn't get it, so the 75 revenue and the 75 expense canceled themselves out. So it was never funds available for that. And then lastly, 0590, be share operating expense for 256,380. That is the MOE or maintenance agreement between the city and Laurel. It's a fee we pay every year. Unfortunately for 2025, they received a decrease in state funds, which did increase the city's cost. This year it went up 6.1% or $14,740. Historically, had been trending at roughly 1.5% or 1.3%. So that is a substantial increase. But again, versus the agreement that we have with Laurel and the MOE, we are obligated to meet that difference. Or we could have a direct result of cutting services.
So what kind of services would be cut? So I'm just asking questions, throwing this out there. So it's basically a fee that we have to pay to belong to Laurel, right?
Right.
So what happens if we don't belong to Laurel?
You know, that would decrease all of their revenue stream as far as salaries or anything else that they do to staff the library, so it could be a reduction in staff.
Is my understanding that you're asking what would it mean if we weren't a part of the regional system?
What does it do to the library in our services if we don't pay that fee?
If the entire fee, the entire C-share, in terms of being part of that system, or just the increase?
No, the entire
C-share.
thing.
What would basically happen is, being part of Laurel, which we have been for a number of decades, it goes back to the early 60s when I believe we joined forces. We would be a standalone library with that, and it would mean, I'll just throw it out there, East Grand Forks is a standalone library, okay? There was some talk a number of years ago, would they ever be a part of our system or not? And they chose not to be at one point. I'm not sure how serious that was or wasn't on both parts. But I do know that for a standalone library in the city of East Grand Forks, that council has to approve a budget of almost $1 million a year to have a standalone library. Ours is the budgeted amount that we have for the various line items that we're looking at, like building repairs and maintenance, because we've signed a joint powers of agreement with Lake Agassiz Regional Library a number of years ago that stated that we are in charge of, or we are responsible for the operations of the library, the deliveries, the materials, the contents, the furnishings, all of that. The city of Crookston is responsible for the maintenance of the interior and exterior of the building.
So you say you mean Laurel?
So Laurel is in charge of, we supply the staffing, the books, all of the materials, the deliveries, the behind the scenes work that happens at headquarters in Moorhead. This is all based on a formula of property owners and, taxpayers, population, things of that nature. We do not receive any funding from Polk County. As such, Polk County, they are a signatory, but they're a signatory for the other locations in Polk County. The only signatory that we have, which helps fund us, is the city of Crookston. And then we benefit from the share that Moorhead gets from the city of Moorhead and Detroit Lakes, and what they get in Detroit Lakes, because basically we're part of a regional system, so we share all of our resources. We share that. So we benefit from all of that and their larger locations and populations as such.
So Chris, thank you for reporting this. Books fall under Laurel?
Yes, we pay for all of the materials.
So if I request something, and if you don't have it, you could get it from one of the sister libraries as part of that system?
Yes, we are part of a greater system where all of our collection is shared. Yes. We try to keep our costs down by sharing all of those resources as well as all of that staffing, including deliveries, including one set of policies and procedures amongst all of those 22 locations. And we have 13 branches and 9 link sites in 7 counties, of which we are one branch. We are also a hub. So as the hub supervisor, I am the director of the Crookston Public Library, for those of you that may not know and new to council. I'm also the hub supervisor, which means that I oversee all of the locations in Polk County, and then also Bagley and Clearwater County.
So what you're saying, we receive a lot more coming in.
A whole lot more.
Okay.
It would cost us 3 times as much to have our own library without being part of this regional system in Crookston, is
right.
basically the bottom line.
Yep.
So Delaney, just kind of sum it up a little bit more, like you said, was it 12 that are part of this Laurel group? Is it 12 or 13 members?
12 branch locations, 13, and then 9 link sites.
So the entire share for that board of trustees of the group is just over $3 million for everyone to be part of, and our share is that $256,300.
And then out of that pool, then they pay their expenses then, right?
Yep, and it's divvied up, obviously on size of city, like Moorhead pays $900,000. Becker County $500,000, so it kind of evens out where you're
In
just
other
part
words-
of that share.
We get a lot of bang for our buck. We really do. And I can tell you that the increase this year has been the biggest ask since I've been here, and I've been here 13 years. And it is because, and was stated in the letter that came out this past June, it was basically wage increases. And we took, for 2025, Laurel met those wage increases over a 3-year period. That first year was the biggest, and we used reserves to meet those requests, or the increase.
On a given year, does a library get more on a certain year than other years because of different needs?
Not necessarily, it's not really need-based. A lot of times it's like a big pie, and regional library basic system support that comes from the state is, again, based on numbers and populations and so on and so forth, and sadly, the rural folks get kind of squeezed out. So, in understanding that the counties are getting less money, cities are getting less money, libraries like us are getting less money.
So the funds that you receive from Laurel, they're not on here, are they, or they are? Is that in the?
Yeah, that's part of no.
I could send out that letter.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't expect you to have.
It was just a spread, there was a letter and a spreadsheet that
Right.
detailed that. I could certainly send that out to council if you'd like.
Yeah, that's basically here, yeah. And that, the city gets it when they get the request letter.
So do you have the number that we received from Laurel?
Well, it's all a bigger piece of the pie, like he said. It's not broken down by city. It's just listed at what everybody's budget amount is.
Okay, I don't expect you to know now if you don't have it, but it'd be nice to know what came in, and I don't know if that's even something we need to know or not, but it would be just, that something that you say, well, I can say to somebody and say, well, we pay in $256, but we get back from Laurel $500,000, I don't know, just,
Well, I think it's
That
more
might be
like,
difficult.
we have to pay $256, but if we wanted to pay for our own library, we'd have to pay $1 million.
well, for sure, well, that's just a number thrown out there, but we don't know what the number is.
It would be very difficult for me to break down what does automation, deliveries, marketing.
Those bills don't go through your.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all.
Along with like the computer systems and the Libby account.
Yeah. We have a collection development librarian that takes care of all of that. We have an IT director who not only takes care of IT along with his assistant for Lake Agassiz Regional Library.
That you pay
Also
on, it just
Northwest.
goes straight.
No.
Straight
It just
to-
goes straight to the pot.
Okay,
And Northwest Regional Library, we are also connected with them and share a collection with them. And our IT department actually covers Northwest as well as Laurel.
okay.
So we try to, as much as possible.
It looks like Laurel's total operating is like 4.4 million, so again, out of that, our share is pretty small, what we get back in services for that.
So, and thinking about that though, Chris, that wouldn't it actually be, even though we're paying this amount, $256,000, if we were standalone, to have all the resources, it would be well over $1 million, it'd be closer to $3 million. Because of that, is that right? Because of the
Well,
access of all the resources?
We have a lot of access to a lot of services and resources because of that regional
All
system,
those 12
yes, yes.
libraries of that system.
Yes, but on a much smaller scale, so I would tell you this. When you go to a standalone library, and I don't wanna keep pointing, to different places, but if you go to a standalone library that is not a part of a regional system, they don't tend to have the same access to MinLink, interlibrary loan that we do. They don't have access, what they have is on their shelves in that building, among those walls. We have access to thousands and thousands of different materials because we have a much larger collection, and then we also share one with Northwest.
So out of curiosity then, if there's a book that's damaged.
Yes,
Or is stolen, or
Yes.
DVD is stolen, all these sorts of things are found at the library.
yes.
So does that whole system cover that? Is that?
We try to recoup our costs as much as possible from the customer, and
Okay, but
then
if that's not covered.
we replace it,
Replace it with funds from,
the collection management budget that they have to work with. And again, I don't have the breakdown for every single budget within Laurel. I don't have that.
We don't have those numbers, because that's a different thing.
But usually what will happen, and I'll give you an example, this past year, ever since COVID, we had a streaming service called Hoopla. We also have Libby, which is ebooks. It's an overdrive system. we had to drop Hoopla because it wasn't cost effective. It became cost prohibitive for us because we couldn't afford it anymore, so we dropped it. We're always having to make tough decisions like that because there's only so much money in the budget. And we have to look at what our customers are using on a given day and month and yearly basis. So we dropped Hoopla, much to some of the chagrin of some of the customers we have, but it was necessary. But we were able to say, hey, we've got this great overdrive, it's Libby, and we have a new Laurel app. We're constantly trying to meet the needs with what we have and within the constraints of what our budgets are. We really are. This particular increase is mainly wage increases, but again, in '25, we took the money out of reserves to meet those increases because our wages were substantially lower than what they maybe should be, really.
So if I'm looking at this, it looks like, if you take out that 75,000 and cancel that out, it looks like it's about a $25,000 increase. Are we saying that that's mostly coming from that increase for the cost share and then that CIP?
CIP, correct.
So those are the two biggest increases.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got the original signage, and we've been very fortunate. I've said this many times, but many of you are new. We've been very fortunate in that the city of Crookston has been a great partnership for Lake Agassiz Regional Library in that we're always trying to take care of our buildings. And I just think that that's just good practice to take care of our buildings, because if we don't take care of what we have, we're gonna be asking for millions of dollars down the road to build a new library. We've been very fortunate that we've been able to fix the roof and the leaks. We've gotten some windows, our new windows are all brand new windows. We're still also using the same HVAC system that we've had since we built it in 1984. We've got a newer boiler that was put in 20 years ago, before I started, but we're using the same central air conditioning system that we had back then. We did get new lighting, that was a safety issue, but we also have no signage to speak of out front other than what's on that brick wall. And so we've drastically reduced what we'd like to get. We were looking at a pipe dream before, but it was over $50,000 and it did have graphics and things of that nature like Happy Joe's, and we said, yeah, that's a pie in the sky dream, we can't afford that. But what we were trying to get was for half of that amount, about $25,000 to $30,000 with the electrical, we were trying to, that's installed, a sign that is gonna not only post our hours and be able to be changed out, but also just a message board, just an electronic message board is all it is, to advertise the things that are happening in the library for people when they, come by, as well as other events like Oxcart Days events and things of that nature, or anything else the city would like to put on there. Because we really don't have anything like that downtown right now. So that's kind of the hope. I've raised $5,000 in a grant that I've had for over 2 years, it's 3 years actually, that I secured 3 years ago for the sign. I have a unofficial commitment from the Friends of the Library, and I've got a couple thousand besides. So for about 15 to 20,000 instead of closer to 30, we could get new signage for the library with other sources of funding. Versus the city eventually having to put something up, or hope. I'm hoping eventually something would get put up eventually, but it'd be nice if we can put something up that says something more than Crookston Public Library, which is a branch of Lake Agassiz Regional Library. We would use it for other purposes, hopefully.
There's restrictions where you can put that sign, or you couldn't put it on the corner of Robert and Ash, could you?
Well, Mayor, that's a good question. We are gonna work with a zoning committee on that beforehand, exactly where we could put it. We aren't gonna put it up on the corner. We were gonna put it set back and make sure that we're following all of the requirements. And we would have them work directly, Fargo Custom Graphics, with the zoning commission as well, our board, to make sure that that's met.
Would it be more of MnDOT weighing in than planning and zoning?
I'm not sure about that, to be honest. We're not gonna put it up on the corner anyway where it's a visual hindrance or anything, but we'd like to have it back not far away from the one that we used to have, but that was actually, and it was on our side, but it was actually over kind of in front of the Carnegie. It was on the other side of the sidewalk from the library, but on the Carnegie side, it is where it used to be. And it just, Riesling sign, is it Riesling signs? Is it not?
Rustling.
Or Rustling, they used to maintain it, but it became, in a total state of disrepair at some point, we just took it down.
Have we received multiple quotes for a digital sign?
We received, an earlier quote from the same place, and it was, like I said, twice the amount, and was much grander and, too big, and too fancy. And we also tried to secure a quote, we did once from Grand Forks, but then they stopped communicating with us, they just weren't getting back to me. And that was a significant amount, significantly more as well. So we decided, since we had worked with Fargo Graphics on some other signage for Laurel, including Detroit Lakes, that we would try to just work with them, because they were easier to work with and they were getting back to us with quotes and willing to work with the zoning commission as well.
And then would this sign qualify for our weather? Just because I work a lot with digital signs, I do have knowledge in that. Making sure it's even down in Fargo, it's a different grade than up here.
We would just make sure of that.
And sometimes that can be the big price jump.
Well, this price jump between the first quote we got and the second was really because we were, like I said, it was more of a graphic, digital color board below it, and we're not even gonna shoot for anything like that this time.
Chris, how long do these sorts of signs last?
That's a very good question. I don't honestly know the answer to that, so that would be a question we would need to ask them.
It depends on the light bulbs and the electricity and weather. So it can last from anywhere from depending on if you get the correct wattage.
My guess is that if we ever got to a point where we found that it was cost prohibitive or that we just couldn't maintain the actual electronic portion, the messaging portion, that could be removed or just not turned on, and we would still have our signage indicating our hours of operation and things like that. You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much for your help.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your support.
Okay, moving on to the airport. We'll start on the revenue page. We'll start on intergovernmental revenue. Last four is 3422, state grants or other. We have 105,000 listed as revenue for 2026. The hope and plan is to receive a state grant to purchase a lawnmower. We'll talk about this more in the CIP. The lawnmower would be $150,000. It'd be 70-30 cost share, 70% paid by the grant, the other 30% or $45,000 paid by the city of Crookston. We'll discuss that a little bit more throughout the budget and in the CIP. And then just directly below that, 3424 maintenance for $60,000. We receive annually state grant funding to help cover operating and maintenance costs at the airport.
Was there a reason that we under budgeted for that significantly last year?
What do you mean, under?
So we assumed.
Budgeted.
Yeah, that I can't speak for last year, I don't know why it was budgeted that way, maybe because only at that point, half of it had come in when we were budgeting last
Okay.
year. But it usually doesn't go down, we just don't have the exact number for this coming year.
I mean, we've probably got more to come yet, right? And then by then, oh no?
Well, 2024 is identical to what we got year to date.
Okay, charges for service. 4920 jet fuel, that's obviously exactly what that is, $1,500 revenue. Moving on to miscellaneous revenue, 6220 rent airport shop. This revenue received from the shop is paid monthly to the city for renting out the airport hangar for airplane repairs. 6222 rent farmland, exactly that, farmland revenue we receive from adjacent property. 6224 hangar rental for 50,000. And again, that's revenue we receive, for renting out the hangars at the airport. So in all, the total revenue expected for 26 is $280,500.
So we didn't lower any fees on the hangar rental, did we? Cause in 24, we got 78,000 and then we budgeted for 50 and 25, and then we're budgeting for 50 and 26. Why the decrease, do you think?
The decrease for this year? Or you mean the decrease from 24?
From 24, I guess. I mean, why did we receive so much in 24? And we went down, but I see in 23, we're down to about 2, so
I can look at that, I feel
kind of anomaly
like
happened.
it was a partial payment possibly in 24 going to 25, do you remember, Holly?
Yeah, I think what it was is in 23, all the ones that hadn't paid by the end of the year, they carried over into 24, so it put 24 more. Because if they pay for the whole year, they get a discount. So just depending on when they paid as to when it revenues fell in.
So when's the last time we looked at
The
the
fees?
fees schedule and if there's any room to,
I did talk to Joel about that, and he said in October, they're planning on having an airport meeting, and that is gonna be one of the discussion items. So they were gonna discuss it last year in December at their meeting, and then it got canceled due to weather. So they never addressed it before the end of the year.
so when they have this meeting, is it possible that you could report to the council based on what we're charging versus other airports and see if we're in the ballpark or if we're high, low?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cause they're fully,
There's a waiting
like a
list.
wait list, right?
Yeah, absolutely, there's a wait list.
So,
We're building a new hangars also, they'll be full once they're
so
done.
supply
also.
and demand, right? I mean, if
Basic economics.
there's a huge waiting list, then maybe we can charge a little more and, you know.
So what we're talking about, the airport obviously, but hangar rental is a revenue. The farmland, can you explain how is that revenue, so the city owns that farmland, right?
That is correct, city owns quite a bit of farmland,
Cash
absolutely.
rented.
Yeah,
And so in this case, who's renting it then?
I wouldn't know the actual farmer who's renting it, but
It goes up for bids every 3 years. Yeah, so
typically,
it could change every 3 years.
it's closed bids, it's a 3-year lease typically.
3 years lease.
But I'm just trying to understand how that relates to the airport. So there's farmland, the revenue comes in that way, and then you're saying that someone's renting it, it comes up every 3 years. But how does it work is this part of the runway or something, or?
Well, it's just the.
Like the FFA,
Surrounding the
Or
runway and
FAA,
all of that.
sorry.
I mean, like, the farmland literally comes up right to the runways.
Okay.
Like, I mean, so like the airport has that.
there has to be a large buffer around the runway and the taxiway. So the airport owns a large portion of the property, but they only use a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that,
And
they
can't, they have to physically control that space around the runway.
Okay, so basically, all right, so again,
The airport or city owns quite a bit of acreage out there, I couldn't tell you the number.
so the airport is not owned by the city.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
Operation, I'm just trying to understand, so who's running, why would you spend money on renting your own land? I don't understand.
We're not.
That's revenue coming
That's
in.
revenue.
That's revenue.
Who's they?
The farmers who go up and bid every 3 years, they're renting that land.
You're renting it to farmers.
We are renting it out, that's revenue we receive from the farmers so that they can farm that.
Yeah, farm that land, yeah.
Okay.
This is income coming to the city.
That's good.
I would rent it to you, you would pay me,
Yeah, but you've never.
that's how it works, yep. Sorry for the confusion there.
No, sorry, thank you for the
I'm
clarification.
sorry. I probably didn't explain it, I apologize for that.
You did a good job.
Moving on expenditures. Salaries, a slight increase for 26, for any COLA increases. One 0104, temporary salaries. That's for seasonal staff for mowing and maintenance at the airport. The rest of the line items all the way down to 0200 are salary related benefits. Another notable, I guess, 0211 laundry. We increased that, about $900 for 2026 to cover the monthly fees for laundry services.
What do we,
That's for rags, towels, rugs. Yep. Next one I have noted is 0312, professional fees. Is budgeted for 35,000 in 2026. Those are typically associated, with fees with state and federal grants, as we all know that most of, if not all of the projects that take place at the airport are grant funded through federal and state grants. Those are often, we have the upfront fees associated with some of those grants. However, sometimes those fees can be reimbursed through the grants. But again, we need the money upfront to, for any associated fees with that. Sanitation 0384, $1,800. It's a slight reduction from last year from about $500, again, just to reflect the monthly fees for sanitation service. 0405, runway mowing, marking and maintenance. It's a slight increase of $2,000 from last year. That funds are used to repair any runway lights or other related maintenance, and it's payments the city makes to lease mowing equipment that is used to mow the large acreage out there. 0520, CIP building and structures. These are the rest are CIP requests, which some of these mowers and some of these runway maintenance kind of come into play here. 0520 CIP request building and structure of 67,000. Request would be 50,000 for sheeting for the hangars, 17,000 to replace and relocate outdated water lines. 0530 other improvements for 21,000. 16,000 of that would be for crack sealing. 5,000 a request for some new office furniture in the lobby area. And then last CIP request is 0580 for other equipment in the amount of 150,000. This is related to that 105,000 revenue I explained earlier in revenues. That would be for the cost of a new lawnmower. It would be a grant to pay for the lawnmower at a 70-30 match. So our share would be $45,000. We'd be reimbursed $105,000 for that. However, if we did agree to purchase that, the runway mowing fees, the lease back that we pay $4,500 or up to $18,000 a year could be completely or mostly eliminated by owning this lawnmower. So there is a cost benefit back to the city by owning this instead of leasing equipment back each year or each summer through the mowing season.
so that would, I mean, it would be, what, 4-ish years, and it would pay for itself?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're paying up to $18,000, and there might be some other lease if, you know, if there's maybe waiting for repaired equipment or something else, but I did talk to the airport manager directly today, and the goal would be to eliminate that cost altogether, so yeah, theoretically, we could have that paid for in a relatively short period of time.
Question on the CIP list for the airport, the first number is on the actual budget of 67,000, and I see where you get that on the CIP list, 50 and 17 is 67. Then the 28, the 16 and the 5 on the CIP adds up to 21. So on the, where is that extra 7,000?
Some 7,500 city share of current draft projects,
Is that what it is?
that's what it says.
Yeah, and then the description underneath.
Oh, yeah, I believe that's been
Okay.
paid.
It's been paid?
I think so. Is it paid through the grant this year?
No, that's our portion that we're gonna be responsible for next year. on the T-hanger project, because it's 2.5% that the city is responsible for. And then the, they're both for the T-hanger, it's like,
Didn't we talk about trying to pay for that out of this year's budget, or no? Okay, I must be thinking, we've done so many, I apologize.
So we wouldn't go buy that whole.
So that is probably a clerical error on my part, Delane.
Okay.
So that line item should be like 21 then, on the budget, or it should be 28 in the?
I would need to include the 7,500.
On the CIP,
Correct.
okay,
That is my mistake, I apologize.
that's right.
Thank you for
Yep.
catching that, actually. Any other questions on that? Then lastly, as it spoke in prior workshop meetings, I did supply a list of each respective department CIP items. I know that we did go through them when we were talking about each department's budget, but it's sometimes hard to, the way that it's listed in some of those budget workshops, to really understand what each dollar amount's for. And sometimes it's a lump sum versus breaking it down so you can see it individually. So we did provide that today with every respective department that has put in a CIP request. As you page through it, there are some requests from Park and Rec and Public Works that have to be paid, as they are an annual payment for a lease of some equipment or other items that we need, like the water department, water main replacements and sewer line replacement, things like that are always budgeted. They're a must for when they do break. So we do have some of those that we have to fund, which we can summarize. And then the last page is a summary of all departments and total requests. This is everything included, so must, wants, and wishes. I guess today it's probably more for your review, for each of you to kind of go through it, digest it. We'll obviously take any questions you have. Most or all the department heads with any CIP requests are here to answer any of your questions. I think moving forward tonight would just be to maybe rank or organize or prioritize what you think is important to the city. It's gonna be difficult to go through and put check boxes on each one of these, which we think should be funded, as we're still working through the budget process and we have to make some budget amendments. We also need to get through Wednesday to see how many or any nonprofit grants are awarded before we can really lock in the levy amounts and give council an accurate number on what the funds would be available.
Sorry,
No. Go ahead, Billy.
we're done going through the department's budgets now?
Correct, this is it.
So what's the number, do we have the final number of all the departments right now?
Not counting the CIPs,
Not counting the CIPs?
just to pay our bills.
Well, I'd like both, if we.
Well, right, I just need to type things down on a.
Yep, I agree.
Well, I can give you some numbers, and Holly and I'm really hesitant to give you these numbers. I will absolutely, I went through, and I tried to organize that as far as revenues, what we have for expenditures and CIPs, but it's difficult to really get that actual number because some of the levy money, like Park and Rec, is divvied up in there and like the airport and library, so my numbers could be off significantly, so I really.
So you're talking about the levy that we might be getting?
What the expenses of each department, what it costs for operating expenses of the city, and CIPs are separate. You can see CIPs are a $7.1 million request. Obviously that.
Yep. But I guess before the levy even comes in, I was just wondering what we're looking at for the bottom line number of where we're at now, before CIPs and after CIPs. And so that, I think for me, that would help me when we're ranking CIPs, I mean, kinda,
Yeah, so I guess what the plan was, Delaney, if
is
this
that
is.
Wednesday maybe, or?
So this is my hope, and if this is satisfactory to council, we'll do everything we can to get you those numbers, and I can assure you, I mean, we've been working 50, 60 hour weeks to get to where we're at right now. Again, we would really like to kind of know, and I know it's gonna be hard for you to rank nonprofit grants on Wednesday, and I would just ask that we don't approve anything on Wednesday, but maybe get that number. And when we come back on Monday, the 29th, hopefully we can have all of that well, not hopefully, we will have all of that information to you. I could try for Wednesday, but I don't know that we'll be able to get it for you on Wednesday, and I apologize for that. ahead of time.
That's all right. Do we have a number of the LGA coming in at this point?
Yeah, that is, yes, I have that number for you. Give me 1 second, I'll pull it up.
It's what the state gives us.
The CIP, Darren, is it also organized by what's most important?
It is, thank you for bringing that up. They are in order of priority.
So just, here's where my head's at and everybody. So the question I'm asking is, what is it current to budget the balance? Like, without, what would it be for what everybody's requesting, not including the CIPs? What it costs, clearly we can't do all of the CIPs.
What would
but
it cost without CIPs?
Yes.
I believe the number was like 12 million.
12 million.
And again, please don't hold me hard to these
No,
numbers,
and
because
we
these
don't
are
need to-
absolute, like, I wouldn't put this outside of just ballparking it. I know I'm off on those numbers. I will be open about that. Holly and I had about a half-hour conversation today. We have a really good start to this, but again, I absolutely need her help, of course, to really get those numbers. But our LGA for 26 is $4,521,314.
What was that again?
$4,521,314.
And just looking at what the budgets were here, like really fast, it was 8, 9 million, just on what we have.
No, some of those include the CIPs though.
Yeah, some of them include some of it, but I mean, we're at
So,
there.
and so here's where I'm at. So we're clearly at a place of not everybody can get what they want.
Correct.
And we're probably gonna have to cut services in some places to balance the budget, or we're racking up our levy.
The hope is very much that, I think, again, the total operating revenues of the city is around 10 million.
From what we're standing, but what I'm saying is when we look at this, are certain services that we have, and I don't have the answer, but I think this is just something that I'm asking people to think of over the next week or two as we're making this. What do we deem more important? Making sure that some of these CRPs are starting to get funded and filled because they are things that are going to be needed versus things that we want. I had a very wise conversation with somebody who had done something very similar, and it was, when it came down to it, is there is needs and there is wants. People need water, people need sewer, people need roads to be able to get to and from work and to feed their families. People need to feel safe, so they need a police department and a fire department. Everything else is a want, right? And when it comes down to it, you have your basic necessities. I'm not saying cut everything, that's not what I'm saying, Henry.
Well, no,
But I'm
I
just-
was gonna say something.
But what I'm saying is when it comes when it comes down to it, is we need to look at these CIPs and determine, are some of these CIPs more important than current things that we offer? And where do we land on that? And are we happy with it? Last year, we deemed none of these CIPs as important as certain services and offers.
So, one question, and I agree with everything that you said. The one question, is it possible for you, Darren, for you to sit down with the department heads? And I know these are ranked by department. Is it possible to rank them by the city's needs instead of just by department needs? And,
That seems pretty subjective.
well, it is, but I
It's a
mean,
different mindset, and I understand that, right? Like, my needs are always more important than your needs and your needs and your needs. But it is asking people, and when it comes down to it, it has to be us making that final decision, but asking people to work together.
So,
on that.
and I also think it would be helpful obviously, I think we need to improve some CIPs. It almost would be helpful to have, like we set a levy number. It's almost, wonder if we set a CIP, total CIP number, say, okay, this is what we can do.
Here's what our hope is, and hopefully this is acceptable to each of you. Holly and I are blocked out most or all of the day on whatever time we need on Thursday. By the weekend we could email out to council what those numbers are, so walking into Monday for preliminary levy discussions, you will have that. And again, I apologize for the kind of short notice on a lot of this stuff. As you know, we've done everything in the last 2 weeks, pushed through everything. These were the last two departments that we just got those numbers in. And now we're just trying to build on that. I mean, my goal was to try to have some numbers for you tonight, but it just very, very difficult. And there's still a lot of moving parts with the nonprofit grants.
Another number which you may not have now would be, if we kept the levy the same, what dollar amount do we need?
And that's absolutely what we're gonna figure out, have, this is what operating cost is, this is a 0% limit, a non-increase, or the same as last year, 0. What that looks like, what a preliminary number looks like, a suggestion for that. And that's also gonna, I think, give you an idea of what you could possibly fund for nonprofits and for CIPs.
You know what?
Sorry.
Oh,
I mean,
go
I just
ahead.
even look at it like, okay, like back to working together of what do we deem, even from the CIPs and what they're looking at, right? Like, we have Carrie asking for $80,000 for professional fees, but we have Chuck asking for $75,000 for a sewer line replacement. To me, in the end, a sewer is, I would love to do, I mean, I'm the biggest proponent on here for childcare, like,
Yep.
do not get me wrong. But when it comes down to it, like, where does that sewer, that's just why I'm asking. Or does Carrie look at it and she says, of these three, my biggest concern is the housing project or the childcare or the industrial park. It is going back and asking department heads of,
That'll be a major portion of our conversation of our department head meeting on some of these. And just know, when we walked into this budget session, or when Holly and I were meeting with each of the department heads, I made the determination to put all of the asks in the CIPs.
yeah, I think for that.
And I have spoken to each department head about that. We all realize that, as you've discussed, obviously, we're not going to get all of them. Each department head has already been discussing, working with themselves and their departments on what that looks like. We will get you a better list or a better number. And just to know too, just keep in mind, like water also is an enterprise fund, very self-sufficient, so we will also kind of get that determined up. But again, water is a kind of its own beast, and wastewater themselves, so although there are CIPs, those do not come out of general levy funds, so as their enterprise funds and fund it themselves.
Yeah, great, I think recognition, you all have done tremendous work. Because you're doing a lot of work behind the scenes and presenting these numbers, and Holly, that's great. But you're also telling us that the numbers aren't quite accurate yet. And so we should probably wait on making any really critical thoughts and decisions based upon, until we have the values that you feel more comfortable.
Absolutely.
And then piggyback on what Delane, what you said, I like that idea of having those department heads kind of work together to help that decision process and ranking across, because then you're all part of the city and we're going to be working together, and I think that would be helpful information. And I think by discussing that back and forth, I think they begin to realize the need and the want that you're talking about. But also, I think we should be considering the fact that we're not broke either. Right? We're still going to continue as a city.
We're
It's just,
kind of close to that.
we're not broke because we're still here.
We're broke to the point where we can't.
We're out of standing with our own charter.
No, I understand that. I'm just clarifying that it's an uncomfortable position.
So yeah, last year we're broke to the point where we didn't build any CIPs. So now we gotta try, and we know that's not a path that we can sustain.
Exactly.
And so we that's why I asked each council member to start. I think Jeff said it pretty well. We can't line item our way out of this situation. We're gonna have to look at programs and what we can do without. So I ask each of you to brainstorm, and, you know, and I don't like to get in emotional situations when we bring up these like situations, because some of them can get emotional, but at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to our city and to keep things going. So I mean, I think we should just brainstorm ideas on, you know, what we can do without for now. And not to say that 5 years down the road, we can't get back into some of these programs, but, you know, one of the things that I thought about for maybe the next few years, if we lose somebody through attrition, maybe we just don't hire the person back for a while, because we are in a situation, you know, in a private business, when a company is in dire strait and financial situation, you get a new CEO, and the first thing they do is they come in and cut employee expense, which I've always hated. But I think a responsible way to do it is if through attrition, that maybe we can look at and see if we can get by for a while, not replacing that position for a while. So maybe that's not a good idea, but it's a brainstorming activity that I think we should all try to do and try to figure our way out of this. Because the days of pulling money out of our reserves are long gone.
And we've been in this state as a long time, as I've been on the council, it's been a long time. And as I said last year, we no longer get to blame councils of the past. It is now our responsibility to make the hard decisions, make the hard conversations, not be liked by some of our neighbors, to make sure that our neighbors have what they need to continue on.
And I mean, I don't think it's fair to the council or the residents is just keep raising the levy, and I don't, that's not, I mean, that's not what we're here for. We're here to get the basic needs of our city and try to do the best we can with the taxes of our city. I mean,
So everything's gonna start happening really fast. Obviously, towards the end of last week, Holly and I met with the last library and the airport. We always joke, kinda always working a day behind to try to get everything out to council on time or meet those deadlines. But we do still, like I said, there's several budget amendments we have to make. We still have health insurance padded heavy. We have to take that down. We have to, use those funds to fund FMLA. So there's a lot of budget adjustments we have to make in each department. We'll be going back and doing that this week and really trying to finalize those. We may have some other suggestions I might have. I know we went through some of these budgets and increased certain fees in certain departments without knowing what the actual operating cost looks like. We may have to revisit some of those and may have to reduce some of those fees that we increased in some of those. CIPs, hopefully we can have some kind of offset from an operating to where we're at with preliminary levy numbers and hopefully try to fund some of them. I don't know what that looks like.
I mean, I've been thinking about this since we started this. I mean, does anybody else have any big ideas that you want to throw out there? I mean, one idea that I have is just, what if we do our budget and don't everybody freak out. I mean, and without the pool, right? Without the whole entire pool budget, right? And then once we're all done, then that money that we're gonna need to operate the pool, that's our levy increase if we need it. Does that make?
Well, I mean, I feel like that's what we did last year.
Well, we increased the levy for the overall.
Well, I mean, but like literally, we sat here and went, this is what we're gonna do with no capital improvement, this is what we're gonna do with this. But if we wanna keep the pool, we're gonna have to increase the levy 5%, and we increased it 5% to keep the pool. Like, that's literally what we did last year.
Yeah.
And that would be about this year also, taking the revenues from the pool, just operating costs. It would roughly be about over 5% increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what, like, with everything that goes into it, it means.
But that in itself is not even enough.
Well, no, it's not enough, but I mean, it's a start.
For sure.
So again, Holly and I will do our best to get you those numbers by the end of week. That would give, I know we'll get a short notice, that's kind of the story of this year's budget, but brainstorm over the weekend as we come into Monday. We can have a detailed, levy conversation for preliminary numbers. I'll just kind of go through the dates, and if there's anything else, we can certainly talk about it.
Jerry, I would just ask that.
Yes.
That the capital improvement costs, whatever they are, that those numbers be scrutinized.
Absolutely.
So that they're actually accurate, because then we have payments and
We
preparation.
will absolutely have that for you.
That the big number in the end, that's what's driving everything.
Absolutely.
So if that's accurate, that's great, but that's the assumption when we go through this, that they are accurate, and I would just scrutinize to make sure.
It will be scrutinized.
I agree. So just go through kind of the through Tuesday timeline. We were informed that the EDA meeting scheduled for tomorrow, September 23rd at 7 a.m. will be canceled or rescheduled.
You know what?
Yes, because a lot of people won't be there, so I have to call as a secretary. No, but other officers will be there.
My morning easier, thank you.
Wednesday, September 24th, remember, 5:30, we'll have another budget workshop. We will hear presentations for the nonprofit grants. We will send out through email the grant application information for each of you to review. 29th, another budget workshop. We'll discuss the levy amounts and what we would like to set our preliminary levy at. We can revisit CIPs and nonprofit grants at that time also. And then September 30th, Tuesday, special council meeting to pass the preliminary levy. And we will certify that with the county after the special council meeting.
Wait,
Did you say Tuesday or Wednesday?
I'm sorry, Tuesday the 30th at 5:30. We'll send out meeting agendas for each of these.
okay, so hold on, what were those, okay, so this Wednesday, and you said the 29th and 30th?
Yeah.
Correct, sorry, yes. 29th will be budget workshop to discuss the preliminary levy. 30th will be special council meeting to pass
Preliminary levy.
the preliminary levy. And we will certify the levy that evening with the county. We have till 11:59 on the 30th to certify the levy. We've already spoken with them, we squared it away, we're good to go, we're golden.
We're not here till
We're in the 11th hour on everything we're doing this year, so.
It's not even certified, it's just the highest we can go.
There, well, report to the county what our levy amounts are, yes.
Certified is what, the 29th of December?
Yeah, that's right, for black, exactly, thank you for the correction. We are already working a week and a half ahead of ourselves, so we'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay, we good?
That's pretty good there.
No.
We are adjourned. All right.